And of course, I had a friend who was killed in the 80s in a car crash. He was following me, and I've always blamed myself for it because I was going too fast. And I'd already written a car off for doing that. But the policeman who came to that crash was a decent man. He said, "You've admitted it's your fault. Learn from it." But I didn't. But then I was egged on to do it for the second time. But yeah, when he said, "You've admitted it's your fault. You know, you've lost your car. You know, I'm not going to prosecute." He said, "Because you're a working lad." And he said, "If I prosecute you, you'll have trouble getting a job if you need another job," which was decent of him. But my mate, I'm now hearing that people by that name had made a massive blunder in America. They'd made a medication that hadn't been tested properly, and it had cost them millions because it was the effects it was causing, side effects. Whether that's true, I don't know. But his mother's died. My mother was friendly with his mother. It turned out when my mother made me go and apologise to her, I thought, "What am I going to say?" She said, "I didn't know you." I thought, "New mother." I thought, "Oh, that's changed the subject slightly." But I mean, as far as I know, his dad's still alive, but he didn't very well. I don't know. They lost their farm because apparently, well, it was a dairy farm and they had milk quotas. They couldn't produce enough to make it pay. Apparently, his parents divorced. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is the last time I saw his headlights was when I came around the corner. He was right behind me. I went over the bridge he crashed on twice, so that and back to his farm, which would take about half an hour. The third time I went over, there was a sea of blue flashing lights, and obviously the whole scene was lit up. I'd gone over that bridge twice, and I should have seen 90 feet of skid marks and a 40-foot hole in the fence, which I didn't. All right, I was upset because I knew something had gone wrong, but something a bit funny there. I mean, why didn't I see his headlights down the straight after the corner? He should have been right behind me, and he wasn't. And there was somebody coming up the other side of the bridge, which he swerved to avoid. So if he was right behind me, I would have had to do the same. So where were they? Well, all I know is that teacher from my school had the same surname, real surname, as the soap opera star. Not the soap opera star's character's name, the star's real name. So it could just all be flipping fictional, couldn't it? That somebody could have crashed that car, a stuntman, and to get him written out the play so that he could escape creditors. I don't know, but then his dad didn't and his mother didn't. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. But I mean, I've only just started to show emotion about that because I saw but I didn't see his body. I saw a body bag put into a coffin, which another friend who didn't know him and his girlfriend came with me because they knew I was upset, and I'd asked them if they'd seen this lad, and they hardly knew him. And that's the thing. They were crying, but I was so upset I just shut down altogether. Because obviously we saw what we thought was a brown doctor's bag, the old type with a brass handle and lock on the side, but it was actually either the foot end or the head end of a coffin. But what went into it? I don't know. I don't know. Because it could have been fake. The whole thing could have been fake, couldn't it? Because you get jokes about coffins full of bricks and stuff like that. I don't know. Am I thinking too deeply? Some say so, but wasn't normal for me once. But my mother wanted me to do that. She didn't get me a job after I'd upset a factory full of workers. And well, I didn't say anything at the plant, at the factory. I said it at home. I mean, why would anybody, one of my close members of the family, tell them that? Unless the home was booked. I don't know. But that was the thing. I asked her to get me a job at that factory 2 or 3 times after I finished college. She says, "You're not going there. It's an horrible place." Suddenly came in screaming at the top of his voice, "You're going there tomorrow." Dad wouldn't normally do that. It's as if it was someone else, and it was the same with my mother at times. "Oh, you don't want to be famous." Her mother said that, and suddenly I never realised. My mother never dropped into. Mother did, but yeah, there was a lot of hints about television programs. But was it my mother? And I went to help a television star because I thought my mother had had a heart attack, and apparently hers had died of suicide. But so many lies I don't know. I actually saw her in town a few weeks ago. Good job I didn't recognise her because apparently I could have sung for rock bands, driven for Formula One, and all such. And because I went to help her, an awful rumour was spread about me to quieten things down, but it didn't do me much good because I'd had so much aggro that I just gave up. And then 4 years later, my mother died in a massive cycling accident and was almost killed. And I've just realised I've either recovered from the illness I was diagnosed with, which you wouldn't get from a bump on the head, or I've been misdiagnosed. I've no idea. I've no idea. I mean, there's one social worker I've talked to today, apparently a social worker, but when I said my dad's inheritance is almost gone, she didn't hang around very long. "Oh, we'll get you some free food." Well, they did. Actually, that arrived. So, well, that's one that's turned out right. But Because that's the thing, I'm struggling to get out of the house because I only have my brother left out of the whole family. Yeah, they were all old people and they died. Lack of motivation. Well, this place is an absolute mess. There's stuff all over because I've done 3 gearbox swaps and 3 engine swaps in my car, and I think somebody has a central locking key to it because we've never had one that worked. And the original engine that Dad blew up wouldn't blow up like that. It was beyond the laws of physics. Centrifugal force operate. Well, if the shaft's turning like that, it isn't going to go that way and then that way, because obviously the 2 broken parts were in 1 and 3, and the holes were in 1 and 2 or 3 and 2. I can't remember. But it would have to go through into the one cylinder next to it and then back out through the side. It would have to go through a right angle, and it would have to go the wrong way anyway. I don't know. I'm worn out and tired, and I've had enough. I mean, I'm not in it. I lived in the second most affluent area of my hometown, and now I'm in a 1-bedroom council house. And they seem to wait because they've got money. Because I've got money. Well, I did have. I haven't now. Yeah, but 2 trolley jacks stolen. The cheapest one was £45, and that job on that car should have been a half-day job. And I think somebody's put a bolt back in with opened the bonnet with a central locking, because they didn't have the under trays. I have to take the cylinder head off. It's a half-day job. And eventually I took that engine out to try and work out where the cylinder head wouldn't come off, because as far as I knew, I'd put all the bolts, taken all the bolts out, and there was one still in. The engine wouldn't. I put it back in and it wouldn't turn, because when the one that was dodgy came back with Dad, there was no spacer between the starter motor and the engine. So I thought it would work without one, because obviously how did he start it when he'd blown it up? Don't know, but it's been tampered with altogether. And I think somebody took that spacer and put it back later. In the meantime, we're taking the engine out because it wouldn't start, put it in the boot. And it's very rare for a 2006 car. That engine was as good as new. I bought a crankshaft and cylinder head that was supposed to be reconditioned, but because it's a very old car, they'd been old stock and they were new. I measured them and they were. Those are both trashed, and so is the rest of the engine, which was as good as new, because it's got rusty, because the boot seals leak. Filled it up with water and ruined it. How sick would you be? And it wasn't expensive either, because half of it was second hand and the other bits were new, and it was all as good as new. And it's very rare for a 2006 car. But I could go on, but I'm tired now. And I put the back axle on. It was exhausting. Did I start at about midnight this morning, and I was on until about 5 o'clock. And then it took me a couple of hours to do it, and the worst job was putting the flipping wheels. I thought it was going to be a nightmare to put the axle back out, because I thought I'm going to have a jack and all that, and I didn't have one, and I did it with a lever. I couldn't believe that. The bolts went, well, one of them I hadn't threaded properly, but I put them on with an electric drill with an adapter for a socket. A couple of seconds, and I do that with the wheel nuts now, but bloody wheel nuts, the threads rust. So an electric drill won't put them in.